Lamar Jackson misses practice with an illness. There were some other key Ravens not at practice today as well. We'll go over the updates from John Harbaugh. Ravens did get Rashod Bateman and Higgins back at practice today. Alohi Gilman wins Defensive Player of the Week. Ravens lose Sanoussi Kane to the Titans. The Dolphins release Matt Judon. We'll take a look at the Tavius Jones contract extension details, and we hear from Tyler Linderbaum and Tavius Robinson. All that and more in today's episode of the Flock Rundown.
Ravens Flock. Flock Rundown is the place to be.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Ravens had their first practice of the week today. No Lamar Jackson as usual, but not for the usual reason. Harbaugh said that he is out with an illness today. Also not practicing was Ronnie Stanley, Roquan Smith, Teddy Buchanan, who's out for the year, Kyle Van Noy, and Chidobe Awuzie. John Harbaugh did state that nobody's dealing with anything serious and that he expects guys like Ronnie Stanley and Roquan Smith back at practice tomorrow.
Yeah, it's kind of a rest thing. I mean, the guys are dealing with different things from the game. Ronnie, those guys were held back today. Expect those guys out there tomorrow. We'll see, but should have those guys tomorrow. Lamar had an illness. He was kept home with a flu deal. The doc kept him home today away from the guys, so that was what happened with that.
Good news is Rashod Bateman returned to practice today, which is a great sign for his availability this week. He's been dealing with that ankle injury. And then also Higgins returned to practice today, which officially opens up his 21-day practice window. I don't know if we'll see him this week. Probably not, since it's his first week back of practice, but he definitely will be back soon, which is needed in this scenario, at least for depth. And his special teams presence was shining anyway, but with Teddy Buchanan's injury and him being out for the season, we need some depth there at inside linebacker behind Trenton Simpson. So I think Higgins will fill in there, if not this week, then next week. And then also Higgins was killing it on special teams. He's one of the shining stars on special teams. So that'll be nice to add him back into the mix. We heard from Tyler Linderbaum today, who did not want to discuss his contract extension, but he did talk about the Patriots, their defensive line, the importance of getting a win at the bank on Sunday night, and also the fact that he believes the offense has officially turned a corner.
Someone's coming in our house. You know, we gotta win games. We gotta put on a show for our crowd and end up getting wins like how we're supposed to.
Buy into the notion that the offense could be turning a corner based on what you guys did against Bengals and the way you played, recent games.
Yeah, I mean that's our goal. End of the day, each week, practice has been well, execution-wise, and just got to translate to game days and give us our best chance to win all four quarters. We got to play our best football. Talent certainly is not an issue. We have all the playmakers in the world. It comes down to just execution and doing our jobs, and then consistently playing at a high level for four quarters. I think that's what we need to do, and that's what we need to get back to doing.
We also heard from Tavius Robinson today, who just returned last week and just played his first game with Dre'Mont Jones. Jonas Schaefer had a really nice stat here I wanted to bring up. It was the first time that Dre'Mont Jones, Travis Jones, and Tavius Robinson have shared the field together. It was a 19-play sample size, and these stats are impressive, man. 2.5 yards per play allowed, 21.1% offensive success rate, 54 passing yards allowed, 46.7% accuracy, 1 sack, and 2 interceptions, all while Dre'Mont Jones, Travis Jones, and Tavius Robinson were on the field together.
Yeah, I think he's a guy who just brings energy. He's physical. He's, we play kind of similar in that way. So it was kind of cool to just feed off of his energy, feed off of each other's energy and kind of just, play off each other. So, yeah, he's been great for sure.
Talked about the similarity. I mean, both of you have the ability to slide inside in some obvious passing situations. How important is that for a front, especially the position you guys are in, where you've talked about the scheme up pressure?
Yeah, no, I think it's huge to be able to do both for sure. And he's a guy who's kind of done that his whole career. So it's been good for me to kind of learn from him, take tips from him, in the meeting room and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's been good for sure.
And speaking of Travis Jones, the Ravens just locked him up for another 3 years at a steal of a deal, in my opinion, and the numbers are officially released. Look at these cap hits, especially in the short term. So his cap hit this year was $5.4 million, but next year in 2026, it's only $5.5 million. And then in 2027, it's $16 million, and then in 2028, it's $16.8 $8 million. We've been talking about how many guys the Ravens have to pay next year, but they're already knocking a lot of these extensions out and still have quite a bit of money. Now, I think they do still have to pay Tyler Linderbaum. That's going to cost a lot, but the Ravens are currently sitting at approximately $40 million, $39.9 million, which is 15th in the league. And that is without extending Lamar Jackson. That's with a $74.5 million cap hit for Lamar Jackson. That's with a $32 million cap hit for Roquan Smith and a $31 million cap hit for Matabike, a $26 million cap hit for Marlon Humphrey. I think that there's going to be some flexibility with some of those guys too. The Ravens could get out of the Marlon Humphrey contract if they really wanted to. We don't know what's going on with the Matabike situation. We probably will extend Lamar Jackson and free up cap room. The Ravens are going to have quite a bit of cap room in 2026. In some other NFL news, the Ravens lose Sanoussi Kane to the Titans. He was signed off the Ravens practice squad to the Titans active roster. And the Dolphins also released veteran pass rusher Matt Judon. And I know a lot of Ravens fans are calling for the Matt Judon reunion. I was calling for it last season. I thought he still had some juice. Maybe he still does if he came to a situation like Baltimore, but the production hasn't been there of late. He's 33 years old now, and he's only had 3 quarterback hits and 0 sacks through 13 games for the Dolphins. So I know it's not all about numbers, but he's obviously not really getting to the quarterback. Maybe you could argue that it is a lateral move or maybe a small upgrade to a guy like David Ajabo. So if you wanted to make that replacement for right now, but I feel like you'd have to know that you're getting an upgrade. And what we've seen on the field recently for Matt Judon doesn't necessarily say that. So I don't really feel like it moves the needle for the Ravens pass rush room at all. They are getting the most juice out of Mike Green, Tavius Robinson now being back, and Dre'Mont Jones mainly. These guys are getting after the quarterback. And I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be against a Matt Judon reunion ever. I think it's a low risk move, but I just don't think that it moves the needle much either way. In some other Ravens news, Alohi Gilman was named AFC Defensive Player of the Week this week, coming off that pick 6, the handoff from Kyle Van Noy. He also had 8 tackles, 1 pass deflected, and the touchdown. Shout out to Alohi Gilman. I know Kyle Van Noy mainly made that play, but it is going to go down in Ravens history, man. That's an awesome play. It was fun to watch. It was nice to see the defense score a touchdown. And also, Alohi Gilman's been a welcomed addition since that Odafe Owe trade. Odafe Owe is also killing it with the Chargers right now, but the Ravens defense is having a lot more success having a safety like Alohi Gilman. Him coming over really freed up Kyle Hamilton, which has been a huge spark and a huge reason why this defense has turned around and is coming off their best performance, which is awesome, man. And getting a shutout this late in the season against, Joe Burrow and the Bengals, Jamar Chase. That is not something to overlook. That means something, playing this well this late in the season, and hopefully they can keep it going. The Ravens got 3 games left: Patriots, Packers, Steelers. Tough stretch of games. None of those are easy, but if they can win all 3, if they keep playing defense like they are, if this team can play complete games like they just did against the Bengals down the stretch, they're going to be hosting a playoff game in the wild card round. You get in the dance, anything can happen. So can't wait to see how it all plays out. Let me know what you guys are thinking about everything. Appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens flock. The flock rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. So I'm telling you now, it's about to go down. The podcast, the flock rundown. Ravens, baby. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly.